Hello everyone, YouTube has been going through some changes that we'll be starting to see go into effect over the next few months, so I'm just going to start putting this disclaimer here for now. This video is intended for ages 13 and up. Hello there, this is AndresRestart, and this time we're going to be having a bit of a discussion, a quick little comparison I should say, about the differences between Dynamax, Gigantamax, Mega Evolutions, and Z-Moves. I finally have gone through my playthrough of Pokémon Sword and Shield. I beat the main campaign, I did the post-game story, I'm now jumping into Battle Tower, starting to set everything up so I can start building a competitive team, and now I'm really starting to get a better handle on the mechanics of the game, and I gotta say, I'm really liking Dynamax. So in this video I'm going to be explaining to you guys my thoughts on Dynamax and how it could be impacting Pokemon moving forward, at least with the competitive scene for this generation. And really that's the point, but if you're here even as more of a casual fan that wants to get a better understanding of how Dynamax compares to Gigantamax and what you can do with it, we'll talk a little bit about that too. So first let's talk about Mega Evolutions and Z-Moves, and then we'll get into Dynamax. So basically Mega Evolutions were introduced in Generation 6, Pokemon X and Y, and with Mega Evolutions you do not have the option of having an item. What you have to do is you have to attach an actual Mega Stone to a particular Pokemon via the item slot, so it can then Mega Evolve during a battle. And you can only do this once during a battle, but once you do, that Pokemon is in that better, stronger form throughout the course of the battle. And with Mega Evolution, usually the Pokemon looks a fair bit different. They have a new ability and better stats. And between this new ability and these higher stats, oftentimes the Pokemon is significantly more powerful, even though they don't have another item like Leftovers or Life Orb to improve them in any way. Now personally I love this mechanic, especially because I'm a big Charizard fan, so when Charizard got 2 Mega Evolutions, I was booming with excitement. But during the X and Y era, especially with VGC, the Video Game Championships, these are the tournaments sanctioned and organized by Pokemon Company International, there was a few Pokemon that sort of led to the format being overly centralized. The most popular Pokemon at the time was Mega Kangaskhan. Because of its new ability Parental Bond and its improved stats, it could take a lot of hits, it was fairly quick, it hit really hard, and it had access to a lot of stat boosts and really powerful moves thanks to its new ability Parental Bond, which allowed it to hit twice. It gave it an extra hit with all of its moves, and sometimes when there was a move that boosted stats, it would boost it twice, like Power Up Punch. So because of all of this, Kangaskhan became very strong, and it was so strong that it got to the point where in most tournaments, almost every top team had a Mega Kangaskhan. So a lot of fans didn't necessarily like Mega Evolution because it overly centralized the game and there wasn't that many variety of teams. You were sort of forced into a situation where you had to pick certain specific Mega Evolution Pokemon in order to be competitive. But then fast forward to Generation 7 with Pokemon Sun and Moon, we got Z-Moves. Mega Evolution was still part of the game, but Z-Moves were another facet that were added, and Z-Moves basically also took up the item slot, but they just allowed you to do one extra really powerful move. Sometimes that move could be used to buff your stats or heal yourself, other times it could be used to simply do a very destructive attack, and sometimes that could be really important if you use it at the right time to take out a particular Pokemon that your team is struggling with, so you can then move forward and actually progress with the battle, hopefully winning, now that you've taken out that one specific Pokemon that you needed to with the big powerful Z-move. So Z-moves I don't think were as centralizing as Mega Evolution. You didn't necessarily need to have a Z-move to be competitive, but it still could be very useful and oftentimes was a great play to turn the tides of a battle. But now let's talk about Dynamax and Gigantamax. So there are no Z-Moves or Mega Evolutions in Pokemon Sword and Shield. I don't know if they will return in future games for this particular generation, but at least for Pokemon Sword and Shield, they are not in the game. All we have as that extra new mechanic is Dynamax. Now what I really like about Dynamax is that it seems to be combining Z-Moves and Mega Evolution, but scaling it down a little bit. We do know that going to Pokemon Sword and Shield, Game Freak has made great efforts to balance the game compared to previous generations. Will that ultimately prove to be the case? Well, only time will really tell as the different metagames for both singles and doubles progress and mature. But at this point I do have to say that Dynamax is really cool because every team can do it, and pretty much every single Pokemon in the game can Dynamax. Now I know some may say, but there's also Gigantamax, isn't that basically Mega Evolution? aren't Gigantamax Pokemon better than Dynamax Pokemon? Not necessarily. So with Dynamax, you grow larger in size, you gain more HP, and you gain access to all of the powerful Dynamax moves. Every move changes to a Dynamax move when you're in the Dynamax form for 3 turns. But with Gigantamax, it's basically the same thing. The HP goes up, you grow large, and you gain access to powerful max moves, just like Dynamax. It's the same moves. The only difference is that with a Gigantamax Pokemon, there's one particular move for a type that is different from the normal Dynamax Pokemon. For example, with Charizard, if you have a normal Dynamax Charizard, when you use the Fire Max move, what it does is, yes, it's a very powerful fire attack, but afterwards, it creates a drought and it has Sun for the next few turns to boost fire attacks and reduce the attack of water moves, and also you can do things like Solar Beam, for example. But then with Gigantamax Charizard, it does not have access to that fire move. Instead, it has the Wildfire move, which after you use it, yes, it's also a very powerful fire attack comparable to the Fire Max move for Dynamax Charizard, but it leaves fire damage to all non-fire type Pokemon to the opposing side of the field. So it's a different effect. So in other words, there could be different strategies used for that, and I would even make the argument that if you have a Dynamax Charizard that has the hidden ability Solar Power, by using that Fire Max move, you create the Sun for the next few turns, and you could take advantage of Solar Power, and that could prove to be a lot more useful than the Wildfire move for Gigantamax Charizard. So my point here is that you don't necessarily need to have a Gigantamax Pokemon. A Dynamax Pokemon has access to a whole bunch of great moves as well that can be very useful for you. In other words, Gigantamax isn't necessarily better from Dynamax, it's just a different strategy. Honestly, I'm really starting to love Dynamax because it's offering a lot of different possible strategies with pretty much every single Pokemon. There's so many things you can do. For example, you could use a Corviknight, not even the Gigantamax Corviknight, just the normal Corviknight, and you could use the Max Flying move, and that will boost the speed of your team that's out on the field. And that can be really useful. Or for example, you could use a Gigantamax Dreadnought, use the Stone Surge special ability, and that will put out Stealth Rocks, but then after that, if you want to stay bulky, you could use the Rock Max move, which will create a Sandstorm which boosts the special defense for Rock-type Pokemon. And these are some of the many possibilities that you can utilize with Dynamax or Gigantamax Pokemon. And they aren't necessarily game-breaking because these Max moves, they're not as strong as Z moves, and these Dynamax Pokemon aren't stronger than Mega Evolution. They appear to be more balanced, and it doesn't seem like they're going to dominate the game like Mega Evolutions did, but they will offer a lot of variety, create a lot more strategic situations, and make the battle system that much more fun. So those are my thoughts on the differences between Dynamax, Gigantamax, Mega Evolutions, and Z moves. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways everyone, thank you so much for listening and watching. This is just a quick little discussion video on these new mechanics for Pokemon Sword and Shield. If you like this kind of content, if you're interested in more competitive sort of style videos for the Pokemon games, let me know. That may be another element to the channel moving forward. But that's all for now. This is AndresRestart, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.